Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle was warned not by man, but by something unseen, something divine. It came like a whisper in the dark. During prayer in the silence of the Sistine Chapel, just days before the world would know the name. Pope Leo XIV, he didn't speak of it. Not then. He couldn't. Because what he saw wasn't meant to be seen. He trembled, his hands shaking. The air heavy, like heaven itself was holding its breath. A figure stood behind him. He turned, but no one was there. The candles flickered. The crucifix above the altar bled a single tear. He heard the voice, not in his ears, but in his soul. The one you choose will not be yours. He is mine. And in that moment, Cardinal Tagle knew the next pope would not rise by votes alone, but by command. Then came the black lightning. That same night, thunder cracked above Vatican City, yet no storms were forecast. Guards said the air shifted, like time paused. And when morning came, Cardinal Prevo, the silent one, was glowing. No one noticed, except Tagle. And now, months later, while the media celebrates Leo's humility, his warmth, his first visit planned to Turkey for the ancient Council of Nicaea, behind that smile, something is stirring. Because that voice, that divine voice, it spoke again to Pope Leo himself in private after Mass at Castel Gandolfo. He stayed behind, alone, just him, and the crucifix. And that's when it happened. He collapsed to his knees, clutching his chest, not from pain, but from revelation. He looked up and whispered, "Is it true, what you showed him?" And heaven answered, not with words, but with a vision. He saw oceans rise, churches split, and a lamb surrounded by wolves wearing red robes. Cardinals, not enemies, but divided hearts. One will betray, one will die, and one will lead the world to its knees. This isn't a theory. This is what he saw now. Leo prepares for Nicaea, not just to commemorate the council, but to fulfill a prophecy buried since the time of Constantine. Ancient scrolls guarded in the secret. Archives speak of a pope crowned with humility, who will face the serpent from within the church itself. And Cardinal Tagle, he knows this serpent. He felt its breath in the chapel. It's not a man. It's not a demon. It's both. There's a reason he weeps during Mass now, because the warning wasn't just for Leo. It was for us. If you've seen the shaking, if you've felt something breaking open, if your spirit keeps whispering, this is not normal, then hear this. God is speaking. Again, but not everyone is listening. And the Vatican, they're moving faster than ever, preparing behind closed doors for what they call the Great Alignment. Whispers say Pope Leo XIV will unveil something during his Turkey visit. Not a document, but a decree. Something tied to Fatima, to the third secret, and to the mysterious figure who visited him in the night. Because yes, someone came. Not a bishop, not an angel, but someone wearing papal white, with wounds in his hands. He said nothing. He only looked at Leo and wept. The room froze. The crucifix cracked. When guards found Pope Leo, he was unconscious, but clutching a folded paper soaked in blood, his own or another's. No one knows, but one word was written on it. In Latin, venit, he comes, and now, something is. Rising beneath Rome, the church is at a crossroads. And Cardinal Tagle, he still hasn't told the world what he saw that night, because if he does, everything changes. Everything, and you. You were meant to hear this. You were meant to know, because what's coming next will test every soul. And now, the veil begins to tear. Because this isn't just about one pope. This is about the bride of Christ, wounded, but still holy, still radiant. And now entering her greatest hour of trial, they thought Pope Leo XIV was a choice of compromise. A humble man, a quiet servant, a bridge between factions. But heaven chose him for war. Yes, a spiritual war that's already begun. Behind the frescoes, beyond the marble halls. Deep beneath St. Peter's Basilica, the ancient factions of the Church have reawakened. The silent battle is no longer silent. One faction bears the cross, another wears it as a disguise. And between them, the man crowned with white, chosen not by men alone, but by fire. The Vatican knows. They've seen the signs. Statues bleeding, voices in the walls, scrolls that unlock themselves only during adoration, and in Pope Leo's private chamber. The crucifix above his bed, carved from olive wood brought from Gethsemane, began to crack on the exact hour of the Angelus. The Holy Father fell to his knees, again whispering, "Lord, not my will, but yours be done." And the room trembled, not from earthquake, but from presence. Heaven is no longer silent, and what's coming will test every soul who dares call themselves Catholic. You may have heard whispers of a council being planned, not for dialogue, but for division, of bishops already aligning, not with Peter, but with power. Because not all cardinals are loyal to the keys. Some want to remake the bride in their own image, to rewrite doctrine, to dissolve discipline, to crown reason over revelation. But the Holy Spirit has other plans, and Cardinal Tagle, he's weeping again, not from fear, but because he's remembered what he saw, the vision, the sealed parchment, the voice that said, "The hour of the Church has come. She will pass through fire, but she will not be consumed." This is the purification of the bride, the very moment that saints foresaw. When Peter would stand alone and either defend the deposit of faith or see the sanctuary breached, and now, strange things are happening in Jerusalem. A dove flew into the Wailing Wall and vanished. In Lourdes, a statue of Our Lady turned, ever so slightly, toward the east in Rome. 3 lightning strikes hit the dome in the same week and in the catacombs beneath the Vatican. Guards have been instructed not to speak of what they found, but I will tell you, because you have the right to know. They found a relic buried in a stone coffin marked with one word, Petros, inside a blood-stained cloth, and a scroll sealed with wax and the Chiro. The scroll has not yet been opened, but Pope Leo XIV holds the key, and he has not yet used it. Why? Because he's waiting for the sign, the same sign that the third secret of Fatima hinted at. A bishop in white, walking among the corpses of his brothers, weeping before he is struck down. But here's the twist. What if that vision wasn't just a warning? What if it's a map, a prophecy pointing not to destruction, but to resurrection? Because, yes, the bride will suffer. She will be mocked, betrayed, pierced, but on the third day she will rise. And that day is near, even now. Hidden mystics across the world, some known only to heaven, are receiving the same message. The time of silence is over. Speak, pray, suffer, and stand, for the King is near. Pope Leo knows. He's begun praying the Rosary publicly again in Latin. He's re-invoking Saint Michael in every private Mass. He's fasting more than his physicians allow, because he's seen what's coming. He's heard the cry of heaven, and he knows this time the wolves aren't outside the gate, they're inside the walls. And one of them is wearing red dot. There will be betrayal. There will be a vote, one that splits the Church. There will be a moment on live television that will send shockwaves across the Catholic world. A moment when the Pope will be accused, not by the world, but by his own. But fear not, because in that very moment, Kea, the heavens will open. There will be thunder. Over Rome, there will be lightning, without clouds, and a voice, heard in every language, saying only, Behold, I am with you until the end. This is not fiction. This is the storm of truth, and you were born for this moment to stand, to pray, to fight not with fists, but with faith, because the bride of Christ, though bleeding, is not defeated, and her Pope, though trembling, is still Peter. Pope Leo XIV was not just chosen, he was consecrated.